So that's step number one. Our second step is to have a vision. And the metaphor we like to use here is that of a chef. If you think about an accomplished chef, Daniela, he or she would never cook a dish, never start cooking something without knowing exactly how it was going to look or when it turned out. She'd have a very clear image of what that dish was going to taste like, look like, smell like, the temperature, etc., and everything would be planned out. Everything, all the ingredients would be, planned out and acquired to make the dish turn out just in the likeness of that original image. But so many times couples, like we talked about, start plugging in fixes without having a clear image about how they see their ideal relationship. And that's why we emphasize vision work as a specific action step in the living room to the bedroom book. So the idea here is you need to have a vision for what things are going to look like when conditions improve. Again, you don't have to be in crisis, but most people, I would say the vast majority of people in a long-term committed relationship, if you ask them right now, is there any room for improvement in your relationship, the answer would be yes. So if that's the case, what would it look like when things got better, when it improved in one way or the other?
So it's having a vision is different from saying, well, I wish things were different. It's not saying a master chef wouldn't think, oh, well, something that's not oatmeal.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, this is proactive. Yeah. This is seeing, it's getting in touch with the relationship ideal, how I look, how I feel, the sense of myself I have in this relationship, and what things actually look like between me and my partner as we're relating with each other. Getting very clear on this, very detailed. So we have them do some very specific exercises to achieve that level of detail. The first thing we have them do is a little exercise we call hello and goodbye. And in that one, they're making very concrete lists. Okay, when we look at when I look at this relationship, what are the specific things that I would like to say goodbye to starting right now? So this might be things like resentment, late night arguments, too much time apart.
Too much TV in the evening, not enough talking.
Right.
Yeah, not enough date nights together.
And on the flip side, what is it that I'd like to welcome into this relationship or recommit to? So it might be things like getting back to our date nights, having more fun, having a better sex life, laughing more together, hiking like we used to. It could be any one of a number of things.
Yeah.
Great. So what is step 3?
Step 3 is called Protect to Connect. And so when something is important, Daniela, we really take steps to protect it. And in marriage or in any long-term relationship, you need to protect 3 basic things. The first one is time with each other. The second one is fidelity. And the third one is respect. And the first 2 may seem obvious, but really without that true mutual respect, no relationship can flourish. And so relating respectfully as a way of life really allows your intimacy to grow in your relationship. And one of the things that we teach all of our couples, Daniela, is how to use boundaries when they're talking to each other. And boundaries, both speaking and listening boundaries, really help to promote this respectful living. And so most people understand kind of a basic logic here, but for most of us, there's just a basic lack of the skill set to realize the potential benefits of living respectfully as a way of life.
And when you think about it, that's not so surprising considering that most people have no training in this area.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine if we approached other situations in life that required a specific skill set in order to achieve a desired outcome, imagine if we approach those situations the same way that a typical romantic relationship gets started. So for example, would you ever get onto an airplane with a pilot who didn't have any training? Of course not. But that's kind of what we do in most relationships. We take off fast and we hope for the best. And it's probably no surprise that we have a lot of crash landings in relationships. So that's really why we emphasize and teach this model of healthy boundaries that gives partners the skills that they need to live respectfully, share themselves in truth and in love as they protect themselves from disrespectful actions. That's the beauty of boundaries, and that is, like Ginger said, absolutely part of any couples therapy that we ever do. And then, of course, you've got to protect time. I think most people understand that as a society we're busier than ever, which means in relationships we need to be more intentional and deliberate than ever in actually protecting our time. So sexual abundance therapy really relies on scheduling time together, blocking it out so you can give each other the focus and attention that usually results in positive feelings. One of the exercises that we have couples do in an ongoing way, this is not just a one-shot deal, it's called the daily shares. And it's a very efficient, it can take 5 minutes. It's just a 4-item check-in that couples do at the end of the day sometime. And at the end of that 5 minutes, they've probably had more connection than the typical couple has, without doing a concentrated 5-minute share. This is something that couples usually have some resistance to, and almost always say after a couple of weeks, boy, I'm glad we're doing this. It's made such a difference.
That's great. And we have a step 4?
We sure do. So step 4 is what we call prepare to repair, Daniela. And this is because really the mark of every healthy relationship is not the absence of conflict and differences, but it's really when you are in a truly intimate relationship with someone and you're sharing your realities, you're bound to have differences of opinion from time to time. And so we really try to help couples just come to expect that these differences, you should expect them, and they come with the territory of any long-term committed relationship. So what truly defines a healthy relationship is being able to have the respectful communication around these differences and a consistent ability to repair when those differences lead to conflict. And some of the basic ways that we see differences leading to conflict are some of the ways that partners can tend to be non-relational when they're expressing differences, and that can come across as being defensive or belittling or eye-rolling. And, of course, there are some bigger ruptures as well. But we really think that conflict in a relationship can present an opportunity for intimacy if the repair is done really well.
That's right, and here's where the planning comes in and the intentionality again, because meaningful repair is rarely just spontaneous. It involves really finding a non-conflict time, a peaceful time, to plan for that next conflict and just kind of accepting we're going to have these going forward. What's our system look like for handling them? So we have another one of these exercises, we call it rewriting history. And you're asked, and this is something anyone listening to this can do, to just think about a recent argument that you've had with your partner. And to really get in touch with your own side, look at your own side of the street. What was it in this argument that maybe I wish I had back? How would I have done things differently from my side? Was there an intensity? Was there some language? Was there my approach? Was there timing? What was it I could have done that maybe had a negative, that maybe could have had a more positive impact on the interaction? Also, what got stirred up in me? Usually when we have conflict, emotions get stirred up. What was I feeling? Another great filter to use is how old did I feel? Sometimes you'll realize, you know what, there was a time during that argument I felt like I was 12 years old again and I was talking to my dad, or something of that nature.